Welcome to the Good Place Marionville podcast, dedicated to highlighting the good right here in Marionville, Missouri.
You know, one thing I've heard over and over again from people in Marionville is how good our schools are. In fact, realtors often say that our schools are a driving factor in someone moving to our town. So today's guest knows all about the Marionville schools and the real estate market. Matt Price, welcome to Good Place Marionville podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Matt, it's great to sit down with you. Finally, we've been trying to get this done for months, I know.
School is busy.
It is. Really? Middle school is busy? And yeah, I'm sure there's other things we find out to keep you busy. Many of our subscribers who probably know who you are, but yet they may not have a middle schooler or get to interact with you on a regular basis. So over the next few minutes, let's help people get to know you better. Tell us about your family.
So my wife is Dana. She is a third grade teacher in Marionville. I've got two boys. One is in second grade, that's Forrest, and then I've got a kindergartner, Bishop. So we've lived here now 4 or 5 years, and I've been in the district. This is my 10th year in the district, but first as the middle school principal.
Nice. Well, wait, but we're glad to have you. So did you grow up here?
I didn't. I actually grew up in Aurora, so just right down the street.
So there's a lot you won't say about
Right.
like rivalry and all that stuff. Different colors, switching to blue.
Yeah.
Everybody could see Jim and I decided to wear our comic gear today.
comics.
And I guess
Yeah.
we did a good job here
Right, nice coordination.
coordinating.
Martha.
So that's awesome. So when you were a kid, did you always know that you wanted to go into education, or what did you think your career was going to be as a grown-up?
I think, just growing up playing sports, you always you kind of, as a little boy, you want to play professional football. When I got to high school, I was 170 pounds, and so I realized that those dreams probably were not going to happen. But I had great relationships with my coaches, which was really what kind of led me to becoming a teacher and a coach at first. So, like I said, I had like great relationships with my coaches that just kind of was that driving factor to get me into education.
All right. So the career path that led you to be middle school principal and a realtor and a husband and father to two. Talk about that career path. I mean, you started off in Aurora and you ended up way at the top of the game right here in Marionville.
Yeah. So I was at my first year teaching. I was actually at Aurora. I came over here. My degree was in elementary education. So Mr. Hopkins was the elementary principal at the time, and he was actually one of my high school football coaches from back in the day. So he had reached out to me, and I was really wanting to go to the elementary way because I was doing junior high science at Aurora. So I came over.
You didn't
here.
like junior high kids playing with explosives?
Yeah. So yeah, I actually did fifth grade for 6 years here, and then I went to middle school for 3, and then when Mr. Mosman moved up, I moved up into his old spot. So.
Awesome. So if I remember correctly, like this is your first year as principal.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep.
you're just getting to this end. So, I mean, I've been talking to you since early on in the school year, and I know you had a lot to settle into. That's a big jump and a big responsibility. And so we are, so glad that you've taken this time today for us to get to know you.
I want to ask this question.
Okay.
So, we had friends when they had their dinner time, they always had highs and lows for the day. All right, give us highs and lows. No, just give us highs of being principal. We don't have any lows.
No.
I'm sure there've been none.
No, none.
I'm sure there's been none. But highs, some of the greatest things that you were unanticipated being a middle school principal.
Just seeing student accomplishments is awesome. A student that might struggle that finally gets something. It's and we do a lot of stuff. We want to praise those kids for the great things they do. And just when you see a kid that is succeeding somewhere, that's a really cool part of our job. And I have there's fantastic teachers. Like I have fantastic teachers that work in the middle school. And they work really, really hard. For those kids. So seeing those students succeed is so cool because the teachers get just as pumped as the kids do because, they see their hard work and the students' hard work and it pays off. So that is a pretty cool spot for our job.
So I'm curious. I think you might know this question, the answer to this question. Like, how big is the middle school? How many students are there, and how many teachers do you have?
Square footage. Okay.
Oh, I don't need square footage. I want to know about the kids.
So we range about, our middle school is 5th grade all the way through 8th. We just added 5th grade
Okay.
At the start of this year to the middle school. And we range between about 50 to 55 kids per grade. Like our 5th grade right now, there's a teacher there's 3 teachers in the 5th grade. And then we have, a sixth, seventh, and eighth. We have a ELA teacher, a math teacher, a science teacher, and then we have a PE teacher, and then a few other teachers that help
So
in
fifth
different
grade, they
sessions.
still have their own classroom,
Yeah.
and then they start rotating in sixth grade, but they're still a part of the middle school.
Correct.
Wow, that helps them a lot, I
Yeah.
would bet, with bumping up and getting to be the big kids and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. Okay, so we already, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we know just from word of mouth how very good the Marionville schools are and great reputation that they have. But my understanding is the middle school recently was recognized with some pretty significant rankings, and it's okay if you look at your
Okay.
paper. So tell us about that, because we want to celebrate, like you said, the successes that you're seeing in the school.
And here's a secret. There was a realtor from that town you grew up in that said people love Marionville because of the
Yeah.
schools. And
Yeah.
they love Marionville because of the small town feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Marionville in general, we have great sports programs to start, and that brings a lot of kids in, but our academics are fantastic. Our district as a whole this year, we were ranked number 8 out of 551 schools as a district.
Wow.
And then like the middle school, I can't take credit for this because this was Mosman's last year, so I'm not taking credit from him.
Shane just called me and said, good thing, man.
So we were actually first in the area for ELA and science on the MAP test last year, and second in the area for the math portion. That's
Wow.
Ozark, Republic, Nixa, a lot of big schools around here. And then overall in the state, we were 8th. Our 8th grade math was 4th in the state overall.
Wow.
7th grade math was 5th in the state. And then 7th grade ELA was 8th in the state. And that rate, like there's between 6 to 700 middle schools. So
Okay, let that sink in for a minute, because that's really,
that's a great accomplishment.
I mean, that percentage, if you're in the top, that's like less than, it's in the top 1%.
Yeah.
Because and unless you're doing decimals, that's pretty significant. I'm not in the top math. I actually like math, but I'm not doing that one in my head. But anyway, I love celebrating that. And I think for those that especially don't have kids in the school and they hear about, we have great schools, but what does that really mean? It is not just the athletics,
Right.
Academically very strong.
Top
and
10 in the
that is
state.
that
That's
is just huge.
phenomenal.
So
Yeah.
congratulations.
All right, is there any other good news going on in the middle school?
So the bond recently passed.
Okay.
So that was huge, especially the middle school. The elementary had windows done several years back, but the middle school did not. So a lot of our windows currently they leak. So we're replacing all of the windows in the middle school. We're also doing security. So when you first come in the door, you used to just be able to come in, and then there was the office, where we've actually just added a second set of doors to where now when you come in as a parent, you don't get to go through the second set of doors. We're actually this summer working to the middle school office is actually in the middle of the building as far as where the middle school is. So I'm actually going to be moving to where the superintendent's office is, and it will be moving over to the early childhoods where the superintendent's office will be. So now when you will come into the middle school, we'll actually have a window right there to where you can talk with the secretary. So we're adding a lot of things. We're being able to, we're hoping
So
to
more
read
like
the
a high
pictures.
school.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to tell people why you're there, and to make
Right.
sure that you're supposed to be there and all the
Correct.
things. So these, sometimes people can feel like those are inconveniences, but
Right.
you're doing it for the kids.
Right, most
You're-
definitely.
You're taking care of them, and you're responsible for them at that point in time when they're there. So I love that you're getting the opportunity to update some of those things to meet current standards, and just have that security of knowing that they're as protected as they can be in that environment. And that takes a lot of work. So you guys have a lot of moving pieces. I know when we had Shane on, he was talking about all the logistics that he works
said it's gonna
on
be
a
nuts
daily
this
basis.
summer.
Oh, it is. It is. They are starting, from what I understand, they are starting, we get out on the 9th, and they are starting, that's a Friday, and they are starting construction on Monday.
Awesome.
So it will be, there's a lot of moving pieces to get classrooms moved.
Yeah.
And so it is a good thing, though.
That is a good thing. So, okay, I did some clicking around the school website, and I was really impressed with something that I found out there about just the transparency that you have out there on the website. And it was this thing called Building Level Improvement Plan. And it listed the mission of the middle school. So I'm going to say that right now. And it said Marionville Middle School is committed to ensuring a safe and quality education for all by developing skills and character necessary for academic and career success. Now, is this something you implemented, or did you get to take this over?
So I was part of the team when we originally implemented it, and all the teachers were part of it. This is something we look at every year. We like to see, we look back at it. Going next year, we'll look, and there's other pieces to that we'll see if we've met those goals or what we need to do differently to meet these goals. We do a lot of things right now. We have a character board. I have a couple teachers that help me out with that, and it's just we have a different character word every month where the students are, if they are showing that type of character, we put it up on the board and then we mail that home to parents. We do.
Like what kinds of characters?
So like we've had.
Not characters, but character.
Yeah. So we'll just.
I understand.
Yeah,
Not
we'll put
peanuts.
like trustworthy, just different things like that, just showing different types of character.
Excellent.
And we'll change those up every year. And then, like I said, those kids at the end of the month, we'll actually end up giving them like an ice cream sandwich or something. Then like I said, we do shout outs, which are, just positive behavior that we send home in the mail so that parents can see. And then we have 2 students of the month every month. And, we do a lot of stuff. We really like to praise our students for, MAP scores, and students who are proficient in advanced. But not just that, we really want to praise those kids for showing growth, even if they're not there. So we try to praise our kids for every positive thing that they do as much as possible and just let them know that, we do see that they are working hard and they're doing a great job.
That's so huge because middle school is hard. You are growing and changing, and
grade was awful.
Confidence levels can, really suffer. And so getting that extra dose of praise and encouragement and challenge and, just what I'm hearing you say, I mean, that's very encouraging to me because I remember those years and that, they don't, I mean, I'm grateful for all of the teachers. And I want to say that right now because I think I know for a fact that they have such an influence and such an impact on the trajectory of each and every student. And I just right now want to give you that word of encouragement to get you through the end of the school year because I know the kids start to check out.
Less than a month.
Oh, my word. It's crazy.
All right, Matt, as if being a school administrator isn't enough to fill your days, do you teach any classes too?
I don't teach any classes. I was at the beginning of the year. I was helping a little bit with some of our ELA students, just helping with some English and helping there for a little bit. So next year, I'm probably going to have to teach a little bit of math for one of our hours. So
you get to teach.
Yeah.
And you get,
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But you also love real estate. How'd you get into real estate?
It was just kind of a wild goal that me and my wife had. And so, we originally got into it to just start buying rental properties for, more so for our children and for retirement, and we wanted to be able to leave our kids something and just create like generational wealth pretty much. So we were trying to do that. And then I kind of decided I wanted to become a realtor. So I kind of do that on the side and help where I can with that. So
that's awesome. So Dana and you work together in that business, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Got
awesome.
any properties for sale right now you want to plug right here?
I just sold one like 2 weeks ago. So I've got, a couple that I've got on the market for some other people, in Nixa and getting ready to have another one up in Battlefield. So
Okay, so if people want to, I'm going to ask this question because I think people are curious, but they may not know. What's the best way to contact you regarding real estate? Because do you have like a website, a Facebook page? What are you doing?
So my broker is out of Aurora. It's Elite Properties.
Okay.
So you can always find me on there and get a hold of me. So.
Okay. Awesome. We'll put that in the show links for people
Perfect.
because it's not like it's Matt Price Real Estate, right?
Right, no.
So they need to be able to find you.
Right.
Now, I've seen you post properties and things like that, and you helped our kids with their properties. So thank you very much for that. We're thrilled to see that process.
Moving our kids away from us. Great.
They said they were going to stay, but you guys were still there. So I don't.
Oh,
Is
Matt.
it something we said?
Okay, before we let you go, we realize it's getting close to the end of the school year, like we mentioned. Are there any end of the year things that you can think of that you just think the community should know about that are coming up?
So we actually start map test next week. So
What is a map test?
So map test is, it's a big test that the state makes us give the kids every year. So we take it for math and English for 5th grade through 8th grade, and then 5th grade and 8th grade also take the science portion. So we will take that Tuesday through Thursday next week, and then the following week we will also be testing Tuesday through Thursday.
So make sure your kids eat good breakfast.
Good breakfast, lots of sleep.
Yes.
So, and then we're sending something out soon, but we will be having the last week of school. So the 9th will be our 8th grade promotion to high school for those students. 7th grade on that Friday also will be it'll be an awards ceremony for 7th and 8th, and that's at 10:30 on the 9th. And then on the 7th, we're doing just an awards assembly for the 5th and 6th grade students. That's also at 10:30, and that'll be in the big gym.
Excellent.
Nice.
So if they need all those details, like the school calendar online, you think that's a good place, or where?
Well, we've sent out notes
Okay.
already, so we've already sent everything out in the mail, and so
So
we
let
put
me
stuff
ask
out.
about that. Just I'm
Mail?
curious, like how
You mean like
is
U.S. Postal
That's
Service?
right. Yeah, we're old school, so we send out mail, and then we send out we do stuff through email and stuff as well. So
Awesome. It takes a lot of forms of communication
does.
to keep people
Yep.
up to date. And that's why we do the podcast, because it's just another way. And here they get to see, you in person and, instead of just behind a letter with your name signed on there. So.
That's right. Matt Price, so grateful that you decided to come on today. As middle school principal, congratulations on almost completing your first year. And as real estate agent, hey, set the town on fire. Let's get some of these properties sold. Let's just keep helping this community become a greater and greater place to live. Thanks for sharing your time with us today, sharing some of your life with us today, and for feeding into education in the future so many kids right here in Marionville. We're going to let you get back to school now before you get in trouble with Mr. Mosman. We'll finish up the show in just a minute, but thank you, Matt.
thank you.
That was such a great segment with Matt Price. I hope everybody enjoyed getting to know him just a little bit better. The Bank of Billings core values include customer first, passion for service, and commitment to community. Their core values have enabled them to be in this business since 1889. Member FDIC and equal housing lender. Thank you to the Bank of Billings for sponsoring the Good Place Marionville podcast.
If you ever been over to their new lobby, a lot of times people just go through drive-through. Go check it out. Their new building in Marionville is fantastic. So the Ozarks Manor sent us some good news. Last Saturday, they contributed 13 dozen donuts to the Marionville Band Booster Running of the Squirrels 5K donut run and set up a table offering bottled water to the runners.
And in preparation for the annual community Easter egg hunt, residents, along with the Marionville Junior High Honor Society students, stuffed tons of eggs. They said tons. I think it's thousands of eggs together with candy. No, I don't believe there's any dollar bills. It's candy. The community Easter egg hunt is being held this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the back. Yeah, it is tomorrow. Wow. At the back of the health center right off of Lion Street. So hope to see you there.
This week's activities include this week's
At the Manor. This is all Manor news.
This is at the Manor. This is still
a lot
Manor.
happening there.
Because I saw crafts. Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense. Horse races.
I don't know. This is what goes
I've
on
never seen
at
any
the
horses over
Ozarks
at the Manor.
Methodist Manor.
Boy, I get Lucky Lotto 7, an outing to Stained Glass Theater, and grilling out hamburgers and hot dogs. That sounds good. For lunch for the residents on Friday.
And just to let everybody know about a new activity that they started doing, Leslie in the health center started karaoke night last month. And the residents and staff certainly had a blast. This month it will take place on Wednesday night, April 30th at 6:30 p.m. in the health center activity room. And they actually are inviting people to come and join them and have some karaoke fun with the residents.
Hey, citywide cleanup was rescheduled from last week where the weather was just so beautiful.
Yeah, not.
To this week where the weather really is beautiful. Yesterday they filled 4 dumpsters full of 4 40-yard dumpsters full, and the dumpsters are still available for a citywide cleanup today until 3 p.m. It's exciting to see people with truckload after truckload getting rid of stuff out of their yards and out of their houses and getting it thrown away. It gives everybody an opportunity to do a fresh spring cleanup.
Spring cleaning, that's all about. So unofficial results from the election are as follows. Corey Mace and Aaron Head were elected to the school board.
and Aaron had also is a new father to Miller, and so I'm figuring he might be bringing.
He's setting up the standards for his child to be in the school district.
And so if you see Miller at the school board meetings, it's because it was Aaron's time to have Miller with him. All right, Kevin Bliss, Sue Motley, and Kathy Urschel were all reelected as aldermen for another term.
Alrighty, and in Around Town news, Apple Fest will be here in September, the 19th and 20th this year. And next week, Pastor John Kahn is actually our guest for the Good Place Marionville podcast. And we'll be talking about his involvement with Apple Fest and also the Ministerial Alliance and the upcoming Good Friday service.
Update on the B's and G's Dairy Crest grand opening. Hey, last weekend on Saturday, amidst some pretty stinking iffy weather, B's and G's Dairy Crest opened for business. And I think everybody listening probably already knows that because you were all there. I think the entire town came out for the grand opening.
Yeah, I guess weather doesn't hold us back.
No way. The weather has been beautiful this week, and they're serving up ice cream cones and smash burgers to meet the demand. We're so grateful. And I hear a rumor.
I just got an update from Bobby that, number one, her staff is really doing a great job. And she's just so proud with the things they've learned and the things they've adjusted and the way they're able to serve the community through their business. And then also be watching. There will be picnic tables coming for you to sit outside and enjoy the beautiful spring and summer weather.
Hey, thanks again to the Bank of Billings for sponsoring today's podcast. Consider joining the Bank of Billings by becoming a sponsor for a month, a quarter, or a whole season. You can contact us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com.
You can report good news by using that email as well, goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. And if you enjoy this podcast, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell to be notified when each episode releases.
Thanks for joining us for the Good Place Marionville podcast. Keep your eyes out for the good, and together we can celebrate Marionville.